what are some of the techniques that you actually learned while working at BuzzFeed that allow videos to go viral?
The truth is there's no like formula to virality. It's just like if I had to say it in one word, it would be
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. And this week we have a very, very special guest. So she is a viral content expert, a member of the Forbes 30 Under 30. She's the tech founder of her own business, popcut.com. She's a former BuzzFeed executive, and she's generated billions, that's right, billions with a B, views on her content. So welcome to the podcast, Lizz Warner.
Thank you. Excited to be here. What an intro.
I had to. It was you're a very accomplished woman. So
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Just for those at home, I know I did give you a pretty glowing, intro there, but just for the people at home who aren't really familiar with you and who you are, could you give a quick, 1-2 minute background on who you are and what got you to this point today?
Yeah, definitely. So I started off as an intern at BuzzFeed. I was always really interested in video production. I knew that's like what I wanted to do. And I didn't major in it in college. I actually majored in business. But I figured I could like learn video production on my own. Like I didn't need to major in it. And and so every like summer I would always find like some sort of production company to work at. I worked at like WCIU Chicago, helped them with their like morning news. I worked at MTV and then eventually got a job at BuzzFeed. I never like thought I would go in the path of like making viral digital content, but that's where I ended up.
So I'm curious, take me back. Why did you originally even choose business?
Because I wanted to make the most of my college degree, and I felt like majoring in like something else wouldn't help me that much in the long term.
Yeah.
I wish I had done psychology though. That's what I wanted to do. But I felt like, no, I need to like do business because like that's how you make money.
Psychology too.
Yeah. I wish I had because I was so interested in it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, no, I'm going to do business because that's how you make money. And like literally forgot everything I learned. So didn't matter.
Have you, we'll go into like your content creation and time at BuzzFeed in a bit, but has your business background played a part in any of your success up to this point?
I think like most of the business that I've done, I've literally just like Googled or watched YouTube videos of. So I would say like there are certain things I like remember from business school, but like in general, it just kind of like floated out of my brain,
so
like when I graduated.
So it's not something that you would say that you were like passionate about or like you loved. Okay.
Definitely not then. I was like so bored.
And then how did you pivot to content creation? Or like being interested in content and trying to be a producer for,
Yeah, I was 9 years old and I was like, my mom basically handed me a camera one day and I was like, this is what I want to do forever. I just like knew. I didn't know exactly what direction that would be. Like I always wanted to go into television. That's something I'm still like super interested in. But yeah, the universe like took me to BuzzFeed. Like it was actually funny. I was watching a BuzzFeed video back in like 2014 and my roommate at the time was like, why don't you like apply there? And I was like, oh, are there humans that work there? Like I thought it was just like minions that like made the content. And then, I applied and like totally thought I bombed the interview. But then 3 months later they called back and that was the beginning.
Wow. So what is life actually like at BuzzFeed? Because like you said, like, to me, it's just like, there's just minions there that make the content, and no offense, but you were one of the people that were making the content, right? So
I was a minion, yeah.
From the outside looking in, we have no, insight into what life is like there. It's one of those big, large content creation or media companies, right? So what is the inside of it look like? What is life like there?
Yeah, well, it depends on like when you ask, or what time period you're looking at. So like when I first started, it was just like fun chaos is the best way I could describe it. Like people were just like pulling cameras out of like shelves and the goal was just like get as many views as you possibly can. And like it was just people in giraffe suits like walking around or like cat suits. And it was like so much fun, especially like the early days. I'd say like as it grew and we got into like more and more offices, like things got like bigger, they got more separated. It was still definitely like all the craziness that was like happening, but it definitely got much more like office like, I would say. But I have so many crazy stories of like, I don't know, like every other day there was like a celebrity in there or like an athlete in there. Like I always tell this story, like one of my favorite days, but it was also like kind of a normal day is when in the morning, I raced against Usain Bolt for a video. Like, yeah, it was so funny. We were just measuring times. Like, obviously, none of us came close. And then in the afternoon, I surprised high people with Snoop Dogg. And he showed us how to, like, roll joints, and it was amazing.
That's so funny.
It was just crazy. It was just like, it wasn't real life.
So you mentioned Usain Bolt and Snoop Dogg. Is there anybody else that you, like, completely fangirled over or were, like, completely starstruck when you saw them?
Oh, man. I mean, so many people came in and out. I'd have to like think about like who I fangirled over most. Like I remember like in one of the last few months before the pandemic, like Bad Bunny was in there. I'd covered the Olympics, so meeting a lot of like the big Olympians was just amazing. And you see them in person, you're like, wow, like you're so impressive. So definitely like, yeah, all the Olympians I met, I fangirled over. So many people. I'd have to think on it more.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So going into more of actual content, what are some of the techniques that you actually learned while working at BuzzFeed that allow videos to go viral?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. Part of why I'm launching like a whole course on it, because I get asked this question so much. And there's not like, I think people want this like secret formulaic answer. And like the truth is there's no like formula to virality. It's just like if I had to say it in one word, it would be consistency. It's just a matter of like putting out content consistently and then like iterating and learning on what you're putting out. So it's like being really studious and effective at like studying the data and then using that to make your next piece of content.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I hear that echoed a lot across the industry a lot. So I heard in an interview with, I forget who was interviewing him, but Mr. Beast said basically that just put out a video, as many videos as you can, and then try to change something every single time. And then the interviewer basically asked like, how could you do that? That's not that easy to just change everything every time. But then he really broke it down and he was like, well, you can change the way that they change the inflections on the words that you say, or you can learn a new editing technique, or you can come up with a new way that you create your script, or you can create a new thumbnail, or create a new way to come up. There's like infinite ways to like slightly improve your content by day to day, week to week, or whatever it is. So yeah, it's interesting that you say that.
Yeah. No, you'll have to send me that. I want to watch it. But
okay, yeah,
for sure. It's all about consistency, 100%.
So what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to actually start getting into content creation? Somebody who is not a content creator yet, a little bit nervous about jumping into the content creation pool.
Yeah.
Maybe thinks that they won't create good content, or they have nothing to create content about, or they're not interesting enough, or whatever. There's a million reasons why people might not want to do it.
Yeah.
What's your advice to that person?
Man, I feel like I see so much like content out there that like some people like put the most personal things out on the internet, and I'm like, if this person can do it, like freaking anyone could do it. Can I swear on this, by the way? I'm like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, like what? Yeah, okay. But yeah, I would say like it is a really scary thing to do, especially if you're like putting yourself out there and on camera. That's definitely one of the easiest ways to make content consistently is just like talking about, your personal life and like what's going on. And yeah, I mean, I totally get that scary. Like I'm in that same boat where like I'm so used to working for other brands that now I'm like trying to get used to doing that more for myself. And like, I still find it scary, So like I totally resonate. I think it's just a matter of like learning to, I don't know, go to therapy, being comfortable with yourself, like doing the work to like really be okay putting yourself out there. And I think just understanding that like the comments that come at you are people that like you don't know. And one quote I really like is like, no matter what you do, like 50% of people will hate you, 50% of people will love you, and your job is just to find the people that love you. So if you can find a way, there's some really good like actually viral videos about this that really struck a chord with me. But like, if you can find a way to really just like post and ghost and like not read the comments and like keep going and like work on your own, you know, self-esteem and self-worth, which is a lifelong journey. I totally get it. I think eventually, especially as you make videos that will go viral, like you'll grow that confidence over time.
So is that your strategy? Do you post and ghost? Are you somebody who loves reading the comments? Are you involved in the discussion in the comment section, or are you post and then you're out of there?
Yeah, I think like I've been trying to post for myself like more consistently and regularly, and it's just like small things that happen like in my life. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten like negative comments, and I usually just like, especially on Instagram or whatever, I'll just like delete and block. On TikTok, I really haven't gotten that yet, but you know, I'm sure it's coming because people always have things to say. Yeah, you just kind of gotta not read it and keep going.
Makes sense. Do you think, because it's 2024, right? Content creation has been around since, well, content creation as an art form has been around for decades, but content creation in its current iteration with like YouTube and everything has been around for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years at this point. So do you think today in 2024 it's too late for somebody to start creating content?
It's definitely not too late, for sure. I mean, it obviously is a much more saturated market now than it was, but the best time to start is today, you know, because it is a lot of work and it takes so much time, and not everyone has that stamina to like continue to post every single day and to like keep going. So it's definitely not too late to start. I think it's important that people really like get comfortable putting themselves out there and putting their brand out there, because I think the future is like every single brand everywhere has to have social media. You know, that's how they're going to get the word out, especially because like ads are less and less effective nowadays.
Yeah, so I share your same sentiments, because I believe that moving forward so I use YouTube basically like television. So I have a bunch of different YouTubers that I watch for different things. I'll have some people that are very technical, some people who are there just for comedy, some people whatever, right? And I think content creation is moving in that direction, where I don't see why everybody can't be a content creator, because we as a society kind of have limitless attention. So there's going to be, like, you finish watching somebody's video, there's space for another to watch somebody else's video that is slightly tangentially related to that thing, but it's slightly different because it's that person. You know what I mean? I don't see why everybody can't be a content creator, because there's going to be a niche for everybody. There's going to be attention available to capture.
Yeah, for sure. And there's this really good podcast, I don't remember the name of it, but Naval Ravikant says how also like every person can have their own business. It's not like there's a limit in terms of like, oh, only a certain number of people get to have their own business and then everyone else can't. Like the world would actually be better off if people all did their own thing. And he talks about that better than I can, but it was super interesting.
So interesting that you say that. Let's get into your own business, PopCut. Is this your first business?
This is my second business.
Your second business. Okay.
Yeah, my second entrepreneur business.
And how do you find entrepreneurship coming from a corporate background? You know, I mean, it doesn't seem as corporate-y because BuzzFeed's kind of like you probably had a lot of fun doing that, but it is still, a larger corporation, right?
Yeah.
So how is it doing the entrepreneurship thing rather than, the corporate route?
Yeah, I mean, it's so different from what I did at BuzzFeed. Like, BuzzFeed was such a, unicorn job where it was like, you got to go out and film crazy things, and we had a lot of autonomy and authority to, do what we wanted. So we were kind of all almost like entrepreneurs within the company, just doing our own thing, which was cool. I actually launched a brand within BuzzFeed. And then I kind of managed that and managed those producers. So I guess in a sense, it's kind of always just been something I've done. Yeah. So I'd say it's so different now because there's so much, all the pressure is on you to succeed. And I just find that the highs are super high and then the lows are super low. And it's such a roller coaster. I think what's been hard for me is entrepreneurship is so much just sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for me because I like being around people and I like going on shoots and I like, doing fun things, and entrepreneurship is like
Not that.
no, it's literally not that. And like I mean, during the pandemic is when I started it, and it was kind of fine then because obviously there's like not much else you can do, so maybe it was like the perfect time. But yeah, it's definitely something that I find, that's the one thing I find like hard about it. But to combat that, I actually started doing just like more freelance, like video producing to kind of like get myself like physically back out there because I just enjoy being on set and being around people. So I do like that as well as PopCut now.
So how did PopCut start? Like when did you first have the idea for it?
Yeah.
Why did you start it? And when did you finally just pull the trigger and
do it?
Start it?
Yeah, well, so this is my second startup. My first was a dating app.
Actually, yeah, let's talk about that for a bit
Yeah.
if you want to.
Yeah, sure. So I was living in LA and dating is absolutely trash in LA.
So I've heard.
Top two worst cities. I think LA and Miami are the worst two cities.
I can see why.
Yeah, like they're the worst. And I've lived in like pretty much every major city in the US, so like I can confidently say that. And I was just so sick of it. And I was like, I think the biggest thing was like, even if you go on regular apps, like it's so much effort to like drive across town to meet someone. And, you know, most of the time first dates like don't end up working out. So it was like, it was just for me, just like such a waste of time. So I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is like start going on video chats first before meeting with them in person. And that was kind of like the basis of the app. It was like,
Oh, what year was this, by the way?
this was 2020.
Okay.
So COVID, yeah.
Perfect time for.
I know.
video chatting.
I had the idea like pre-COVID and then worked on it COVID, then we launched I think 2021. So yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, it was, I mean, definitely such a learning experience. And the idea was you would go on like a 5-minute video chat and like play little games, and then you could like text afterwards if you felt like it was a match. So this was not only like an efficiency thing, but it was also like a safety thing for a lot of women who've like been in, you know, dangerous situations when they're dating. So yeah, I was in the middle of that. That's a whole saga. But then I sold it in 2022. And while I was kind of like in the middle of that whole process, I just had the idea for PopCut because I think I was like, dating just wasn't my background or my forte. Like you have to like really like know a lot about that world to like, and just be super passionate about like stats and numbers, which are great. But it just like, I think over time I was like, yeah, I don't see myself being like a dating app founder for the next 20 years. It just wasn't me. What I really loved is like video producing, and a huge problem that I saw constantly in the market and that I was always dealing with was like finding really solid video editors. And so, I don't know, I just had this like burning idea. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to launch PopCut. This is going to be it. And so, yeah, I just like, even before I like finished signing the papers for selling Gleam, I was like, starting to work on PopCut. Obviously didn't have a name at that time, but yeah, the idea was essentially like a marketplace for highly vetted video editors that are all based in the US. And it was basically like almost like a Rolodex of like top tier people that you could trust. So the difference between PopCut and like, I guess like on the lower tier, you have like Fiverr and Upwork, right? Those people charge lower prices. A lot of them are overseas and they do more like straightforward basic editing. On the high end, you have like post-production houses and they edit like movies and like trailers and like huge productions, right? So PopCut's like in the middle. We do like commercials, ads, a ton of social media, you know, influencers, like that kind of thing. And the editors have over 10 billion views combined.
Wow. So how do you find and source these editors and vet them as well?
Yeah. So a lot of them is like a lot of them are people I know. A lot of them they have to all come by referral if I don't know them personally. And then we take them through like an intense vetting process. So we look at their reel, we look at their portfolio, we interview them, and then we actually make them do an edit test as well. And then the clients can go on their profile and like see the video that they edited.
Okay. So do you know, and it's fine if you don't, but do you know the numbers on like how many of these editors that are coming inbound that you guys accept versus you don't?
I'd say I don't have those exact numbers, but It's usually like if it comes from like a really good source, like someone who's like in the industry and has worked with a lot of editors, like you can like totally trust their word. If you get like, you know, a cold outreach, like that's also totally fine. We just like, you know, do a little more due diligence in like interviewing them and all that stuff. And the other thing is they have to have worked for at least 2 major brands as well.
Okay.
No matter what.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So 2 major brands. What's the definition of a major brand?
Yeah, it's like a brand that people recognize is the definition I'm going with now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So shifting gears a little bit, and you did briefly mention it a bit earlier, that you are coming out with your own course. And you and I have spoken off camera about you launching the course, and this is your first course that you're launching, and there's a bit of nerves there, right? So talk us through what is actually going to be involved in the course, how launching the course is going, and yeah, your kind of thoughts around, you know, launching your first course and everything like that.
Yes. So I did a speaking event that I think you were at like a couple months ago.
I Am Party.
Yes.
It was great. It was great, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was asked to speak at this like event in Austin. It's like a marketing party essentially. And before the speaking event, like they do essentially like a think tank for all the speakers. And long story short, the advice I got from like everyone at this table was like, you need to launch a course. And I was like so resistant to it. I'm like, there's no way I'm launching a course. Like, this is ridiculous. And I've been told that before, but I don't know. It just seems so like corny to me. It seems like cheesy. I'm like, this is silly. But they were kind of like, listen, we know you think that, but like there's also a lot of people that like are making content now and have no idea what they're doing and they could like really benefit from it. Okay, there you go.
I'm one of those people.
So and it's something I'm still like you said, like I have a little bit of nerves about it. I'm like, I feel a little silly doing it, to be honest. But at the same time, like I do also see the benefit because like, you know, having one-on-one conversations with people, like they really want to like be successful in their content. It's like, okay, well, this can help them. And so it's more just like, I need to just get out of my head and like do it. So yeah, doing the first one. So you can contact me to sign up for it.
Yeah. So where can they find it?
Yeah. So let me check the URL. I think it's like popcut.com/viral course.
Okay. Whatever it is, it'll be in the description below.
It'll be in the description.
It'll be in the description below.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's popcut.com/viral course. So you can sign up there.
So what's going to be involved in the course? Like what's everything that's included? How is it structured?
Yeah. So I have a one sheet on it, which I'm happy to send to anyone who reaches out that goes into specifics. But essentially, I'm like breaking down all the things I've learned about virality over the last 10 years. So like I said, there's no secret formula to going viral, and that's not what I'm preaching. It's more just like, how did we think about, you know, growing BuzzFeed from 0 to like 9 billion views a month, which is literally like what they hit. And you don't get that just by like constantly guessing. It's like very much a game of like studying data and iterating and like learning what works and what doesn't. And obviously after doing that for like so long, I have learned a lot of things in terms of like, this is something you can apply to like videos that are supposed to be funny, or like this is something you can apply to videos that are like visually satisfying. Like each like type of content has its own buckets, and then each bucket has its own, I guess, like characteristics that like help it perform better. So in the course, I kind of go through each one and then talk about the specifics. And it's also a live course, so people can like come with questions. I'll give them feedback, and we actually are going to practice like in real time.
Okay. So only things on content creation, nothing on monetization as a content creator, nothing like that.
What do you mean by that? Monetization?
Monetization. So
monetization.
Yeah, monetization. So like finding brand deals, or like how to go about monetizing your content in whatever way you choose to monetize.
Got it. Yeah. In this first course, I don't talk about that. However, like if that's something people want, I have so many like friends who are experts at that and could like totally bring them in. So I really just want to hear like what is it that people want to learn, and then like I can always like add more things or like more days or whatever to the course around those topics. But yeah, monetization isn't specifically my area of expertise, so not yet, but that can come later.
Okay. Do you have thoughts on monetization?
Thoughts like in what sense?
On how, for example, you know, if there's a small up and coming YouTuber who makes videos about AI and also interviews other founders of companies, and he is not yet at the point for YouTube monetization. Are there methods that can be done to monetize his content?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I think I'm thinking like specifically, obviously TikTok is hard to monetize. It takes like a while to get there. And like, I know they don't pay very well, and the creator fund, that whole thing. I know Instagram like is now offering like some money with like reels. I don't know the exact amount, but I think like what I'm seeing a trend towards is like, I have a lot of friends who work in influencer marketing, and she sees, how much money that they pay these influencers. Like, it's crazy. But brands are now like slow. They're not really seeing the ROI on some of these like massive investments. And there's a huge trend towards spreading out that money and investing it more in micro influencers. So I think that's what's really important for micro influencers, to have like a very specific niche and also have really high engagement. And that's like the number one thing brands really look for, is like, how high is your engagement? Like, even if you have a small following, if you get a lot of views on your videos or you get a lot of comments, like that's arguably like way more important than just like having however many followers.
Yeah. So engagement relative to your following base.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's definitely like the most important thing.
Okay. So again, switching gears.
Yeah.
And this is an AI channel, so I have to ask
Had to talk about AI.
Yeah, have to.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on AI, ChatGPT? Are you using any AI tools at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm obsessed. I pay for ChatGPT month to month. I was just showing my parents like how to ask it the right questions. Yeah, I'm like so excited by it. Like I don't know. I understand the fear, but I never fully like got why people are freaking out. I mean, I get it, but I'm also like, this is so cool. It's going to like save us so much time. It's like does so many tasks for you. And I think we're like barely tapping into it. Honestly, this is like one of the crazier things I've seen is I just started watching The Circle. Have you seen that on Netflix?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, you should watch the latest season because one of their characters in it is an AI. And it's like
cool. Oh wait, is The Circle the reality show where
Yes.
It's basically they're all in their own apartment, but they're all like me and my fiance watch that all the time.
Okay,
or we haven't seen the latest.
You need to watch the latest one.
Okay.
You need to watch the latest one and tell me what you think, because like I was watching it the other night with my friend, and like it's just because they trained this AI model to like basically act like a top contestant. And to me, it was so crazy because for me, it's like if anyone sends me something like written by ChatGPT, like I can tell right away that this was AI that wrote it. But like in this TV show, it really like seems like a human. And so that's something I've been thinking about like so much, is like how do they train it to like get to that point, and like what are things you can do to like see whether or not it is human. And so I was trying to come up with these theories. I was like, you could use like humor, you could use like current events, but even then it's like trained on that. So it's so fascinating. You should like totally watch it.
No, yeah, well, I'll definitely check that out.
But
it's funny that you say that, because there was this one AI bot that somebody created. I forget exactly who made it and what they were trying to do, but basically, you know how there's always those like, are you a robot check boxes or things on websites to make sure that you're like an actual human and not a robot. So there was an AI system or something, a bot basically, that basically it couldn't figure out how to do it. So it went on Fiverr, hired somebody to do that for him and said, hey, basically I'm blind. I can't, I'm unable to go on and click the thing. And the Fiverr person was like, are you sure? Like, it's not hard how did you find me if you're blind and you can't do it? But then it like validated him, and then the Fiverr person went in, did the CAPTCHA, and then it just did whatever it needed to do, right? So AI can get a little scary if it is
For sure.
if it's unregulated and it's just left,
For sure.
to its own devices.
Oh, 100%. Like I definitely see that happening as well. So I don't know what regulation's going to look like. What do you think?
I think so. A friend of mine, who is an even bigger AI expert than me, thinks that we're going into a future where AI is basically your personal assistant for everything. So he used it. He was a military veteran, so he uploaded his like heart scan data, and ChatGPT broke it down and like analyzed it, and then explained everything to him in layman's terms so that he could understand it in a way better than his doctor could.
Oh, for sure.
So and he's started trading it now. So he does it with, if he has conflict with his wife, then he'll say, hey, we just had this discussion, and then he has her kind of personality profile as well as his own, and then he's like, and then it'll break down how he should approach fixing the conflict or whatever, right? He is using it for every single thing in his life, and then he says we're approaching a future where, and he is correct, that ChatGPT is already advanced so fast in the short amount of time that we've had it. I think it came out in 2021 is when it, or I think in 2022 it got like really popular, but from 2022 until now, I have seen massive changes in just that amount of time. And we're only 2 years in. So imagine in 10 years when it can basically do anything, you know, and it knows everything about your life, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm having a little bit of pain in my left side." "Oh, well, you ate some food that didn't really agree with you last week, and it really, you know, it takes actually like 3 or 4 days for it to go through your whole system, and then it, you know, like things like that."
Yeah,
so,
that's so true.
Yeah.
This is a dumb question, but like, how do you, like with that guy, in your example, does he have like his own AI model, or like what is he training to be like him?
So he's a prompting expert. So he has his own prompt that, and I can send it to you if you want.
Oh, so it's just like a really long prompt.
It's a really long prompt, and then it basically asks you a bunch of different questions, and then once you finish answering all the questions, it basically knows exactly what it needs to know to start from that point. And then it learns as you, the memory updates as you have a conversation with it, right?
But the memory of like ChatGPT as a whole, or like
the memory of the conversation.
Okay.
The memory of the conversation. So as long as you keep having the same conversation, or it doesn't even need to be in the same conversational thread, because I have even tested.
It's like tied to your account, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of knows who you are. So I've had a bunch of different things where I'll start a new thread with in ChatGPT, and then it will remember something we've discussed previously in another thread. So
yeah, that's so interesting, because it did that too, where like it mentioned like, oh well, like it mentioned Pop Cut out of the blue, and I was like, what? And then I was like, does that? Because it knew me, or okay.
Yeah. The memory will update based off of your account.
Got it.
Yeah, so it threw out all, and it wasn't like that originally. I think that was probably recently, right? In the last,
I guess,
3 or 4 months.
So this guy's just training his own accounts.
Yeah,
GPT.
He's training his own AI version of basically himself so that he can always be good.
You need to send me the prompt to use this. I want to see.
No, yeah, and it's super easy. It's super cool because he's using it to kind of like coach himself, and he is a coach himself. He coaches people on how to prompt, how to better use AI to help make your life easier, basically. And it's a tool that anybody can use if they know what to do, right?
That's awesome.
So it's very, very interesting. Yeah,
we're entering the future.
We're there already.
We're there.
So what are you, apart from ChatGPT, are there any other AI tools that you use?
Yeah. I love using Simplified. Shout out to them. I use them for all my like scheduling, posting. It's so nice. Like, it's crazy to me how we had to like hire so many people, even at BuzzFeed, to like post across every platform. Like, we had to do it ourselves, which is so much work. And now it's like, oh, I could just use this like AI tool, and it's just like boom, post. It like generates, hashtags, captions, all that stuff for you. It's not perfect, but like it definitely does the job. I use ChatGPT obviously all the time. Notion AI, Superhuman. I haven't used their like AI email feature yet, but I've heard good things. So I don't know. That's off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more.
I'm partial to Opus. I like.
Yeah.
It started off a little rough, but I can see that it's been improving.
Getting better.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit better, especially with the B-roll. It can automatically impart B-roll into your clips. It can be like actual B-roll, or like it can AI generate B-roll, so it can just have basically whatever.
That's great. I can't wait till it gets like good at it, 'cause it's gonna save so much time editing, like going through the footage, going through the B-roll, adding, like it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and they need to add music as well. They're not at the point yet where they can just add music in and add the right music based off of the tone of what that clip is saying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But once we might be a year away from that, you know?
Yeah.
And then once that happens,
sooner.
it's so easy.
It's going to be so great. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait till it gets like good at it. I think like I've tried it and it's very much like you have to like you can't like customize it in any way. It like has to do it all for you.
Well, so you can now.
Okay,
so
great.
you can go in
Perfect.
you can go in and edit it, and then you can cut out whatever you want, or if it stops. So what it usually does for my videos is it'll stop the clip while I'm in the middle of a point, which is very annoying. So you can just go in and then and then it'll give you the entire transcript of the video, and then you can just go to the point where you're done making the point, and then add it to the video, and then it'll automatically add it in.
Yeah.
And then you can just regenerate the B-roll and stuff like that. So
Cool.
it makes editing super easy, but I'm not an editor, right?
Yeah.
So that's why.
No, I think it's perfect for like, especially like podcast editing, like going from like wide to like horizontal to vertical. Like it's great for that kind of thing.
So I want to know, what is your mission, right? Because as an entrepreneur, I believe you kind of need a guiding light, something that is that you are moving towards, right? A North Star. So for example, my own, I used to be a professional athlete, and during that time, I wasn't playing at a very high level or anything. So I was using my skills. I was a day trader at the time, and I was building software for various clients. I was just doing freelance software development, whether it was websites, apps, whatever, right? I was using that to kind of fund my dream, which was playing professional soccer. So I am kind of on a mission to give that to people, like teaching them a skill that they can use to make money online. That way they can pursue what they want to pursue, right? That's the thing that drives me. That's what my North Star is. So
I love that.
For you, what is your mission?
Yeah, my mission is I love helping other people tell their stories. Like I love listening to people's stories. I love like absorbing the information. I think there's just like always so much to be learned, and then I love like helping them get that out through video. And I think that's what I've always like done my whole life, like since I was little, is just like help capture stories and moments, and then like again edit them in a way that like touches the human soul. And that's like, really what I did at BuzzFeed. And I think like now with PopCut, we work with a lot of like different entrepreneurs, and they all come with us wanting to get their story out in the most like concise, like heartfelt, like potentially viral way. And I find that like when you are most honest and most vulnerable, that's like where people will really, really resonate with you. And that's what will make your content perform really well. So I love like helping to get entrepreneurs to like get that out and like directing them, and then overseeing the process for like editing it into a beautiful masterpiece.
So you see yourself as like a producer
Producer-director.
Producer-director.
Yeah.
Okay. So when are you going to start getting into TV, movies, Hollywood?
Great
basically?
question. I know. I mean, it's a whole story. Like I'm not interested in like movies. I've always been interested in reality TV.
Okay.
But everyone tells me don't do that who works in reality TV. So I kind of am like, I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth on it, but I do think it's honestly kind of a similar thing in terms of like helping to tell a story that's like happening in real time. So that's kind of why I've always been intrigued by it. But I don't have an answer, because I also like, I'm really intrigued by this path that I'm going on, and I don't know what the right answer is, but right now I'm just like, all right, this is where the universe is taking me. So I'm just kind of going with it.
I think that YouTube is kind of like reality TV.
It is.
So not all of them, most of the YouTubers that I watch, they're vulnerable enough where I understand a decent amount about what's going on in their life. Like, oh, they just bought a house, or they're having a kid, or I understand a decent amount of what's going on behind closed doors. Obviously, you don't know everything because you only see what they show you. And there's definitely a lot more things that people don't put on camera. But for the most part, I can tell you, oh yeah, he used to live in his mom's house, and then he moved out of his mother's house, and now he bought his own house, and he's decorating his thing, and he just went to this thing this weekend, and he had a great time, and whatever it is, I feel like I'm following along on their journey, you know, and I think YouTube and content creation is kind of moving towards that, so I feel like you're already in that space. and we might not be fully there, but I think that genre is kind of starting. The same way like the gaming industry wasn't really big until like 10 years ago, but there were people who were really big into games way before that, and they kind of just stuck it out, and then the gaming industry emerged, right? So
Yeah.
I say that all to say that might be what's happening now with what you want to do. Like there's no name for it yet. It's not reality TV, and it's not quite YouTube content creation or like TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, but we're moving towards that path, I think.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because I always had this feeling. I'm like, I feel like if I stay on this path, like that's what will end up coming to me in some way, versus like forcing another way that's like really hard to like break it. I feel like if I go the path where the universe is taking me, then like those things like will come. Maybe that's silly, but I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't
see where it goes.
I don't see why not. I don't see why not.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that like content is the future. Like everything's gonna look so different in 10 years.
Yeah, and I've been making content again since like 2018, but I really wanted to start my own channel again earlier this year because I heard. Are you familiar with Patrick Bet-David?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so I heard him speaking at I think it was some YouTube or content creation event hosted by, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sean Cannell. He's like a big YouTube guy. He's behind Think Media and all that. So they have like their own, every single year they have like a content creators event or a convention or something like that. And Patrick Bet-David was speaking on stage and basically saying that everybody should create content because in the future, let's say your great grandkids can find your YouTube channel and find your old videos and be like, oh, that's my great grandfather used to be like this. He used to speak this way. He used to be this type of person. He used to believe this. He used to do this to make money. He used to do, it's a way for the future generations of your family or even your children or even your family that's alive right now, your brother, your sister, your parents, your cousins, whatever, to learn more about you that you might not share with them because of whatever reason, or with your children because you might not have the time to show them that side of you or whatever, right? It's a way, it's kind of immortalizes you in that time in your life that you were creating content. And that when I heard that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense and I want that.
I
want my kids in the future to be able to see, oh, like that's my dad.
Yeah.
That's my dad. And my fiance and I, we have another podcast that we started kind of just talking about relationships and how we got together and how our life is basically. And it'd be amazing if in 20, 30 years, our children can look back and be like, oh, that's our parents before we were alive.
Yeah, totally.
How cool would that be to, look back and see that?
Like see everything.
Yeah, see everything. See when they bought their first house, when they got engaged, when they got married, whatever. When I was just born, how was life like for them? They had vlogs and they brought me back from the hospital, whatever it was,
Totally. It's so weird to be like, that's grandma and grandpa on YouTube. Like so crazy, It's just a weird thought.
And it'll probably be like cringy to them, be like,
for sure.
why are they filming? But overall, I think it'll be a positive thing.
Definitely. I know. The world's going to be such a different place, even in 10 years, So, yeah, 100%.
So, just to leave everything off, is there anything that you want to say to the audience?
Anything that I want to say to the audience? I mean...
Anything you want to leave them with?
Anything I want to leave them with? No, I guess, like, if any of them want to reach out because they need help telling their story, happy to just give advice or chat. Like, I'd love to know what kinds of content people are most interested in making and see how I can help.
All of Lizz's information will be in the description below. We'll have her social media profiles. We'll have her link to PopCut as well as the course. That way you guys can, get a seat. And it's a live event, right?
Yeah. So if you want to sign up, the first one that you can sign up for is August 14th. So yeah, just sign up at popcut.com/viral course.
And when are the next ones? Because this should be out before then.
Yeah. So I'll send, if you sign up on that list, that's when I'll send out the next info on the next courses.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, anything you want to leave them with?
I'd say just put yourself out there and go to therapy and don't read the comments.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.